Minesh-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Welcome to Always Receiving Nur weekly Quran class. We are continuing to study Surah 19, Maryam, and this is our ninth session on Surah 19. And we'll, as usual, we'll start with asking if you have anything to share from this past week, anything that stayed with you from the last discussion. Please feel free to share. For me, as we are waiting, for me, the story about Mullah Nasreddin Juha or Hoja, that symbolic story stayed with me. If you recall the story of Juha losing his copy of the Quran, and then a goat brings the copy to him, and then he's like, "Whoa, how did you bring it? How did you?" This is a miracle, he says actually to himself. This is a miracle. And then the goat says, "Well, it's not really. Your name was written on it." And that symbolic story stayed with me because I thought in life there are so many things that are actually coming from God's mercy and power, but there's always an excuse with which God is sending. There's always a means through which God is sending it, and I feel I get stuck in them. I say, "Oh, of course, my name is written in there," and not quite see the miracle there. So that's
we're the goat.
Huh?
We're the goat in the story.
Yes, we are the goat in the story. Your name is written there. We're saying to Juha. So I got this job, or this happened, or this was successful, because there's something that we point to. It's true that Juha's name was written in the book, but that's not the real deal breaker in the situation at all. It didn't have an effect. So as we follow the patterns in the universe, as you follow the rules that are set in the universe, you work hard to do well in your exam, or you speak kindly to make friends, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, these are all just means, and the real source, it's coming, the friendship and the success and everything is coming from one source. So that symbolic story from last class was very helpful for me. Anybody else who wants to share something from last class? Okay, so then we're looking at Surah 19 and continuing onwards from verse 36. And without further delay, I'll turn to Sister Yamina to lead us in tonight's session. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Going back to the story of the Juha and the miracle of the goat bringing his book, it reminded me of a real story. A friend who was telling us how they had a visitor, a relative from the village, someone who was not educated, and they were sitting in their balcony overlooking the water, and there were boats and ships going through. So this friend, who is an engineer, was saying, "Subhanallah, these huge boats, these huge ships, and they're so heavy, and they are floating on the water and going so fast." And the visitor, who was uneducated, looked and said, "They have an engine, they have an engine." So it's like the same story as the goat. Like, how can you marvel at this? This is not a miracle. Like, they have an engine. That's why they float. They go so fast, which of course doesn't explain anything. So what if they have an engine or something? And I remember, like when the story was shared, everyone laughed because, as Isra just shared, usually we always have an explanation when we are not able to see the blessings and the miracles in our life. And when you start looking intentionally, actually, what is not a miracle? The very fact that we are here listening to each other. Forget about the fact, the internet and all that. Just the fact that we can speak, we can breathe, we can hear. We hear sounds and we make sense of them. Subhanallah, like this is something that we cannot truly understand rationally. We can only appreciate through our hearts and just be grateful for it. And when we don't do that, we're missing on a lot, and we're missing on the beauty of life. And so there is this like emptiness, and we're looking for something else, something exciting, when actually what we have is so awesome, but we just, because we take it for granted, we do not appreciate what we do have here and now. And so we ended with ayah 36 of Surat Maryam, where Isa alayhi salam, Jesus alayhi salam, says, وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ رَبِّي وَرَبُّكُمْ فَاعْبُدُوهُ هَذَا صِرَاطٌ مُسْتَقِيمٌ. And truly, God is my Rabb, is my sustainer, as well as your sustainer. So worship Him. This is a straight path. And then right after that, we told, فَاخْتَلَفَ الْأَحْزَابُ مِنْ بَيْنِهِمْ فَوَيْلٌ لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا مِنْ مَشْهَدِ يَوْمٍ عَظِيمٍ. So yet, after all this, after all the 36 ayat that we've reflected on up to this week, yet the sects differed among themselves. So woe unto all those who deny the truth when the witnessing of an awesome day, like. And from this we understand that although it was clear who Isa alayhi salam was, we were told how, like before his birth, we were told about his mother, how she conceived him, how he was born, how he, from birth, he declared that he was the servant of God, and he worshipped God alone. And we also were told about his message, and his message was truly like worship God alone. Yet still people manage to differ among themselves and get away from the truth. And the truth is to know who our Rabb is, who our sustainer is, who is the host, who is generously and compassionately taking care of all our needs, and to worship Him alone. So when we know Him, who is the beneficiary? We are the beneficiary because He doesn't need us, but we need Him. So when we know our Rabb, then we ask for help from Him alone, and we're grateful to Him alone. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. Traditionally, in the commentary on the Quran, in the Tafsir, the sects here have been understood to refer to Jews because they rejected Jesus as a false Messiah, because according to them, Jesus did not fulfill the messianic prophecies. They have some criteria for who coming Messiah is, and therefore they're still waiting for him. And also, it referred to the Christians, they who deified Isa alayhi salam and declared him the Son of God. And some said it could be also only the different Christian sects, because they differed about the nature of Isa alayhi salam, of Jesus, who is Jesus truly. So they're talking about his nature, and that could be that's okay. Like, I mean, this is an area, so it points to many things, but as we stated at the very beginning, each time we start the surah, our primary purpose is to read it for ourselves, inshallah. What is it telling us here and now? I'll get back to that later, inshallah. So the end of the ayah here, فَوَيْلٌ لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. Waylun is actually more than woo. I don't know exactly what woo be to something really means, but it seems to me that it's a little bit different for waylun. Waylun is like, it's an expression more about showing pity, like how someone who is in a pathetic state. So like how pathetic, how pitiful someone is. So I'm not sure about who. If someone knows, you can share with us. But I guess it's not easy to translate for waylun. Sorry, so it was فَوَيْلٌ لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا مِنْ مَشْهَدٍ يَوْمٍ عَظِيمٍ. So it's like these people will be in a pathetic, these people who are differing among themselves, it's because they chose a wrong path. Because if they agreed on the truth that Isa alayhi salam, for instance, brought, they would not have differed among themselves. They would have agreed. So instead of agreeing on something, they are disagreeing on many things. And if they are disagreeing, it means they are not confirming the truth. So woe unto those who disbelieve, and on that day, on the witnessing of that awesome day. And here mashhad is, let's say, witnessing. Let's say, actually, literally, it's what is witnessed. Actually, something is witnessed. Something will be witnessed on the day, on that awesome day. It means the day of judgment, when everything will be clear, when there will be nothing to differ about, because the truth will be clear. Does it mean that we have to wait for that day? No. If we are true to ourselves, deep down, everyone has access to the reality and the truth of everything here and now. And so that's why, although the second half of this ayah sounds almost like a threat, and there is part of us that doesn't like it, it's actually more like a preventive measure. It's like the waylun. Waylun is you pity someone, like, and out of pity, like, what are you making of yourself? Why are you messing up so much? It's actually a good thing to be warned. So it's more a warning, and we can see it's a warning from the next ayah when it talks about in there. And in there is really a warning. It's not like a threat. And it's good to be warned in advance, because then we won't make conclusions without being truly sure. So in this case, primarily it has been understood as deifying Isa alayhi salam, about making him into a god. But it could be, as we've been talking about earlier, about not seeing the creativity and the rububiyyah, the activity of rububiyyah in everything, and therefore referring the blessings to things themselves. And that's opening the door to shirk, because when we don't see divine action, when we don't see rububiyyah in anything, when we don't see rububiyyah in anything, then we are stuck in things themselves. And so whatever we say, whether it's deifying Jesus and making him God, or deifying things and making them efficient as though they were able to create anything on their own, or as though they were able to affect our lives by themselves. Here, it makes us stop and take things seriously, because you can do whatever you want here, but you can't run away from the truth forever, because there will be a day where everyone will have to face that reality. And that day, where everything will be witnessed, we will witness, others will definitely witness what we did, but what is important is that we will be faced with all our false claims and beliefs, and how we lived our life according to those unchecked beliefs. And sometimes we may be thinking that we're checking them. We may be even standing for them and trying to make arguments. But deep down, those arguments are all coming from up there, from the rational mind. But the premises, where are the premises coming from that we take for granted and then rationalize and make explanations? Those premises is where we need to stop and pause and question them. Is our heart at peace with that premise? Is it true? Is it truly? Is it possible? Like in the case of the divinity of Jesus, I don't know anyone so far who told me that they were at peace with it. Even people who were like ministers and things. And when you say, like, how do you explain it? They say it's a mystery. Don't go there, because if they go there, they won't be at peace. And people who are just like laymen, lots of people say, like, I don't want to think about it because it's unsettling. So if there is something so deeply unsettling, how can you just go along with it? And everyone is playing like not hearing, not seeing game. And we do that in many, many ways at many levels, not necessarily with Isa alayhi salam, but with everything else around us at different levels, of course. So it's good here that there is this warning, because then if we take this warning seriously, then we won't make conclusions without being truly sure, truly our heart and mind are both at peace. And we won't follow others blindly without judging for ourselves. And most importantly, without asking for guidance constantly. And that's where you start feeling the need for guidance. So because when we are listening to our heart, is it truly my heart, or is it wishful thinking? When I start asking a question like this, then I start feeling the need for guidance, like Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he was going around looking for his Rabb. Who is our Rabb? It can't be these idols that his father and his people were worshipping. And that's why then we appreciate that we are taught in the Islamic tradition to pray 5 times a day, and each time, whenever we're standing, we recite the Al-Fatiha, and each time we say, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم, guide us to the straight path, because we need truly that guidance, just like we need food, like we need air, like we need water, we need guidance. So far in the first 36 ayat up to ayah 36, we've been shown, especially through the miracles, the miraculous births of Yahya alayhi salam, the son of Zachariah, and Isa alayhi salam, his birth to Maryam alayhi salam, how everything that occurs does so by God's command, be and it is, kun fayakun. So actually, we were not told, look, this is really, really a very big miracle. We were told, look how this is going on, how this miracle happened. This is how everything is created. Everything is a miracle. Everything is the result of be and it is, of the divine command, be and it is. And yet, we often forget this, and we get lost into apparent causes so much that we look at our lives like, how much hope do we put onto things themselves, things that are created like us, power, money, if we're sick, on doctors, on medication, education, and all kinds of things. And we differ with each other about what is more important, or about the causal order. Like if you are like people who are more scholarly, primary causes, secondary causes. Secondary causes are there, we need them, they are necessary, but the primary cause is God. God gives them the power to create. How do we know he gave them the power to create? If they have the power to create, then they become a veil, and we can't see divine power or the divine command, the entities, because we would only see things having the power to create. But in the Quran, there is no such a thing as things given the power to create. Water, وَجَعَلَ مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيًّا. It doesn't say that we gave the power to water to make everything alive. And it's clear that it was not given any power because it is itself lifeless. So it says, can't you see how we're making everything alive by means of water, of lifeless, of something lifeless? And it takes just a little bit of intention and surrender to appreciate the Quranic approach and the explanation that everything is an ayah. So instead of being to divine creativity, to rububiyyah, it's the other way around. They're actually pointing to rububiyyah. They're actually speaking, making tasbihat, glorifying God with his beautiful name. So when you pour water into all kinds of different plants, and then you give it to animals, you give it to human beings, and everywhere it goes, it acts as though it knows everything. So it becomes clear that it is an ayah telling us that it is acting under the divine command, and that whoever is giving life to everything through one simple lifeless water is the giver of life, is the generous and beneficent creator, the Rabb. So they are not an obstacle, quite the opposite. They actually glorify him. They make to us our Rabb known to us. If we only surrender and listen and intend to listen, inshallah. And because when we don't, it seems like things are happening themselves. And even if we add God to everything, like God may, at the end of the day, it's God. But like, where did we get that God from? It's just an assumption. And that's why our hearts are not truly attached to God as Rabb. We don't see everything as an activity of rububiyyah. When we are in that state of ghafla, our hearts are truly attached to the means themselves. And in that situation, we cannot truly worship God, and we cannot truly ask help from Him alone, because we're stuck to the means themselves. And it seems somehow when we are in that state of the being, that those causal means, it seems that they are disconnected from their maker, from their Rabb, and as if we need them to have what we want. Or even if in our mind we say, yes, but God created them. And that's why we can even pray, please God, give me this and that. Because we think that this or that will take care of my needs. Subhanallah, astaghfirullah. Ask directly, God, you are the one who takes care of all needs. Whether Allah will take care of my need through this means or that means, He will decide. He knows best what's best for me. But when we decide, I want it, I know exactly what it is, it's because I cannot detach. In my heart, I'm attached to that means because I think it is the source. And that's why that we pray with anxiety, like as if I need this, but I can't get it myself, otherwise I wouldn't pray. Now I'm in need of God's help, so please, God, would you help me? And there is a part of me that is uneasy, not trustful, because I don't know whether He's going to give me what I want or not. And that's not what dua is. That's not how we saw Zakaria alayhi salam praying. Praying is truly making tawakkul, trusting. And of course, it only happens after that tawheed has taken root in our heart, and we know for sure, without any doubt, in our heart that everything is from Him. He is, and we know that through the evidence and the witnessing of all the creation, the ayat in creation. And so when it becomes easier to trust, to surrender and trust and say, okay, this is my need. Yes, as Isra was saying earlier, God will create by means of something, because this is the world of creation. But let Him surprise us. Let's be open, trust that He knows our needs much better than us. Wallahu ya'lamu wa antum la ta'lamun. So it would be like the goat. Like, of course, there will be a means, but we say, oh, it was because of that. It was because your name was written on the book. Astaghfirullah. How can we be so deaf and so blind to the reality, to the witnessing of all the signs around us? Or how can we be deaf and so blind to the tasbihat, the glorification of everything around us, including around us and within us, including our own, the way our body works, the way we speak, the way we hear? We take them for granted. And the next ayah says, اسمع بهم وأبصر يوم يأتوننا لكن الظالمون اليوم في ضلال مبين. How well will they hear and see the truth on the day when they come to us? Today, however, these zalimin, these wrongdoers, are clearly in error. Here the اسمع بهم وأبصر, it's a فعل تعجب, like a verb that expresses astonishment, surprise. How amazing, but amazing not in the positive sense. That I don't know how would you say something like this? Not like how amazing, oh, very good. How astonishing? Is it okay to say how astonishing? Anyway, so how astonishing that they can hear now and that they can see now on the day of judgment. Meaning, what happened when the message came to you? And the message is not only the message of the Quran. In our case, it's the message of the Quran, but it's also the messages that are coming to us through the creation. And the message of the Quran is telling us to hear and listen and look at the messages coming through the creation as well. So what happened when the message came to you? Like, how come you couldn't see then? Why couldn't you see then? Why couldn't you hear then? Look now, I can see, like, you see, you hear. How come you were deaf and blind when the message came to you? And here, why is hearing and seeing relevant in this context? Because, well, you need to hear and see the ayat in order to get the message. And generally, when someone is seeking guidance, when someone is seeking his way, when we need directions, we require both sight and hearing. Metaphorically, it doesn't mean if I'm blind, I'm not getting it. Here it's a metaphorical blindness, as we are told in the Quran. Like, someone may have physical eyes and be blind, and someone may have no physical sight and see with their insight, with their hearts. So, in order to follow the straight path, or in order to follow the guidance that leads to the straight path, let's say, we need both sights and hearing. And the wrongdoers, however, they are lost, we're told. So they are lost and they're unable to hear or to see. Or maybe they are lost because they are unable to hear and see. And the day on which they will come to God, on which everyone will come to God, they will see and hear really well, which means that they won't be able to make up stories in order to avoid the truth or to avoid the reality. We won't be able to run away from our reality and keep ourselves busy with things that right now we think they are very important, otherwise we wouldn't be busy with them. But deep down, we know that they may be needed, but they are not as important as we usually think they are. Like, if I could leave this world, I could die tomorrow. So there are so many things that now seem so important. I may be putting all my energy on them. They have become maybe my life purpose, when actually they have nothing to do with. If I die tomorrow, they will make no change in the outcome. Subhanallah. And we do this so often because we are unable to hear or see the reality of who we are, the reality of our purpose in life. But on that day, when everyone meets God, everyone will see and hear really, really well, because there will be no way of making up things, because the truth will be clearly there. That's it. No one will. It won't be veiled like here. Here, there is. We have to clear up our hearts and to intentionally surrender to see things, to see the reality as it is. Otherwise, we have the freedom to choose to not pervert it, but like distort it. We have the freedom to distort the reality in our eyes only, not in the reality. We have the freedom to delude ourselves, let's say. And the fact that they can't really hear and see in this world is a sign that they clearly misguided. Which means that it's not that they can't, that their sight is, they have no sight and no hearing. No, but they refuse to listen. They refuse to see. And of course, there are degrees of refusing to listen and see. It could be that we don't even want to hear and see the truth from the beginning, or sometimes we do hear, but then we have no intention to surrender, and so that the truth that we heard doesn't become part of, doesn't transform our life, doesn't transform our heart, doesn't enlighten our who we are. And so even though we know it, we put it like aside, and we don't change how we live our life. And we're told in the Quran, those who have hearts with which they fail to grasp the truth and eyes with which they fail to see. So they do have hearts, but they fail to grasp the truth. And they have eyes, they were given eyes, whether physical eyes or metaphorical insight, but with which they fail to see, and ears with which they fail to hear. They are like cattle, nay, they are even less conscious of the right way. It is they who are truly heedless, al-ghafilun. Say, لهم قلوب لا يفقهون بها ولهم أعين لا يبصرون بها ولهم آذان لا يسمعون بها أولئك كالأنعام بل هم أضل أولئك هم الغافلون. Those are truly the heedless. Astaghfirullah. We don't want to live in heedlessness. It says worse than cattle, because cattle, they live as they were created. They fulfill the purpose of their creation. But being a human and not fulfilling the purpose of our creation, even if we achieve like what we think is like the best things, by what standard? If it does not take us back to our Rabb, if it doesn't take us back to the source of life, the source of goodness, the source of if it doesn't put us in connects to akhirah, if we remain in that total oblivion, live in total heedlessness, what is the purpose? What is the goal? What is the meaning of all that? That's why it becomes worse than cattle, because it hurts the human soul, the human heart that long for eternity, that long for their Rabb. Deep down, it hurts that we have no hope. It reminded me of this is someone, a British philosopher, very well-known philosopher, by the way. So by worldly standards, he achieved a lot in his life. It means he wrote lots of things, fame, people know him. But this is what he wrote in his autobiography. When I said that, this came to my mind. When I survey my life, he says, it seems to me to be a useless one, devoted to impossible ideals. My activities continue from force of habit, and in the company of others, I forget the despair which underlies my daily pursuits and pleasure. But when I'm alone and idle, I cannot conceal from myself that my life had no purpose, and that I know of no new purpose to which to devote my remaining years. I find myself involved in a vast midst of solitude, both emotional and metaphysical, from which I can find no issue. This is someone who does not believe in God. So, okay, everyone heard of him. He wrote lots of books and things. So when you are alone, you are alone. It doesn't change who we are, even if the whole world heard about me or something. But there is something in us that thinks that when everyone hears about you, you will be very happy. Who said this is like the tree of the fruit that Shaitan says, if you eat it, you will be eternal. There's no there's no connection between the two. Astaghfirullah. So in the next ayah, ayah 39, we're told وَأَنذِرْهُمْ يَوْمَ الْحَسْرَةِ إِذْ قُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ وَهُمْ فِي غَفْلَةٍ وَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Hence, therefore, warn them of the day of regret. The day of regret, when everything will have been decided. For as yet, they are in complete heedlessness, and they do not believe. Anzir here is warn them, and indar doesn't mean to scare someone. It's not a threat. It's more like warn someone of an impending danger that has a very real possibility. Like someone is walking toward a ditch and not looking, you warn them, that's in there. And it's done out of care for them. It's again part of the compassion, the rahmah that we talked about in the very beginning. So it's out of love for them, and love for us that Allah is saying, still warning them and saying, warn them as well. And warn of what? What are we warned of? Of يوم الحسرة. Yawm is day, the day of hasra. And hasra is severe regret, not just any regret. That's why in English, many wrote it as a capital R, like the day of regret. Hasra is such a regret that you would want to cease to exist. And we know this from other passages in the Quran where disbelievers on that day, they wish they were earth. They were just turab. And the Prophet ﷺ, it is said in a hadith, he says, even the people of Jannah, the people of paradise, will also have regret, but it won't be like this severe regret, not hasra. And what will be the regret? The regret that they have not spent every instant of their life in worship and remembrance of God. Can you imagine? You think like, we waste so much time. So, and we can feel the regret here. But can you imagine if there is no remembrance at all? Even in the autobiography, that passage that I just shared, you feel the despair. You feel like, I wish. I mean, a person have passed away many years ago, but you wish like you could do something. And sometimes you know that you can't do anything because even though that person is feeling so miserable and living in despair, but not surrendering. May Allah make us of those who surrender easily, inshallah. And so that you understand why in there is necessary. Like sometimes the people, especially the people we care about, the people, everyone has people around them, ourselves and them included, we need to warn ourselves and them like, please, 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 what are you doing? Is it worth? At least, remember from time to time, or at least the istiqamah, the direction of our life, let it be in the right direction, even if we are not driving all the time. So here, These people are those who don't care, and therefore they are in a state of ghafla. And here it seems like they are more like intentional, in a state of intentional heedlessness. وأنذرهم يوم الحسرة إذ قضي الأمر وهم في غفلة وهم لا يؤمنون. Oh, it says, it says هم في غفلة, and the fi there is like they are drawn inside, within ghafla, like so much that they don't believe. And it could be also the other way around, because they don't believe that they are in ghafla. Actually, it's a vicious circle. It's a circle that feeds. The more ghafla, the more we don't believe, we get away from belief. We forget. The more we forget, the more it's easy to drown into ghafla. And the next ayah says, "Inna nahnu narithu al-arda wa man 'alayha wa ilayna yurja'un." Behold, we alone shall inherit the earth and all those who are on it, meaning we alone shall remain after the earth and all who live on it have passed away. And unto us all will be returned. وَإِلَيْنَا يُرْجَعُونَ. Everything will be returned. And this notion of returning to God is repeated in the Quran again and again. We're told, how can you refuse to acknowledge God, seeing that you were lifeless and He gave you life, and that He will cause you to die and then will bring you again to life? Whereupon unto Him will you be brought back. كيف تكفرون بالله وكنتم أمواتا فأحياكم ثم يميتكم ثم يحييكم ثم إليه ترجعون. Again, you will be brought back to Him. Actually, it's not you will be brought. إليه ترجعون. You are being brought back to Him. And the hearts of the believer, we are told, tremble at the thoughts they are returning to their Rabb. Subhanallah. So if we truly take a time, at least during the 5 daily prayers, this is just few seconds, at every prayer, take the opportunity to remember. And the prayer is set in a way that it's like a clock. Early morning, noon, late afternoon, and then it's sun set and it's night and dark. So it's easy to remember that time is passing, that everything is passing, that we are getting older, we're leaving this world one day. And so we are returning to our Rabb. It's easy to remember during those times. And if we truly stay with that notion, it's so awesome that you feel something in your heart. Can you imagine? We're getting closer and closer to face our Rabb. Of course, that Rabb is not just our Rabb, means the one who is taking care of everything, the one who is sustaining my life right now, the one who is sustaining my breathing right now. So the more we stop and reflect and we get to know who our Rabb is, the more our heart will be filled with the love of God. And so being returning to Him is something that we're told will make the heart of the believers tremble. وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْتُونَ مَا آتُوا وَقُلُوبُهُمْ وَجِلَةٌ أَنَّهُمْ إِلَى رَبِّهِمْ رَاجِعُونَ. And those who give whatever they have to give, with their hearts tremblings at the thought that unto their sustainer, unto their Rabb, they are in a state of return. And Raji'un is they are in a state of return, and also it can be understood that they must return. Like it's because they are returning now, like they are returning. So they have that certitude, that yaqeen, that certainty that they are returning to their Rabb. And so they give يُؤْتُونَ مَا آتُوا, whatever is given to them, they share it in his name, in the name of their Rabb, because they know, they are aware that nothing will, there's no point in holding on to things because everything is moving. SubhanAllah. It's just such a, must be a very beautiful way of living a life, a very alive way, very meaningful, very purposeful. And there will be no emptiness in the heart because the heart is full of love, full of excitement, full of awe, what a human being longs for. And also we're told, those who know with certainty that they shall meet their sustainer and that unto him they shall return. الذين يظنون أنهم ملاقو ربهم ملاقو ربهم وأنهم إليه راجعون. And in another one we told الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة, we know this one, قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Those who, when a calamity befalls them, they say, truly unto God we belong, and truly unto him we are in a state of return. So in this ayah, in ayah 40, we told that most certainly God will inherit the earth, and anyone who is on the earth, we will inherit them, we thought. So what does it mean that God will inherit the earth and whatever is in it? It means that the end of everything is with him. And it means that the end of every moment is with him. The end of yesterday is with him. And if we just, this ayah, just repeat it for this next week until we meet next week, and just reflect on what it means that the end of everything and the end of every moment, every day, every eaten things, every whatever event, becoming, being, is with him. And I invite you to reflect on this and share how this transforms how you feel in your heart. Then, believe me, your heart will start trembling. Just stay with it, like do not think. Just put it in your heart, put that meaning in your heart, and let it, and remember it. Remember it without trying to make into arguments or anything. Just remember it. The end of everything is with him. The end of everything is with him. Of course, when you put it in your heart and remembering, your mind will be also involved, but it won't be we won't give the direction to we won't become into an argument. It will remain as dhikr, as remembrance, and the heart will be, will feed on it, will enjoy it, will be scared, will be hopeful, it will go through different states, inshallah. And what is important, it will give us a new perspective on the world, on what we thought was so important. For instance, power issues. Everything in the world is about power, whether among friends, in the family. It seems like power is so important. People are fighting over dominance over each other, over the earth, over resources, whatever. But the truth is that everything will return and is returning to God. It changes that dynamic of competition. It becomes, the competition becomes a competition of getting closer to God, on being more charitable, being more compassionate, rather than you are more powerful, who is richer, who is whatever. It's not ego-based competition anymore. Yet most people, most of us, most of the time, we live with that sense of delusion in this world, and because we think, we give importance to things themselves as though they were static, as though they were there, they were the source of something, when actually everything is flowing, coming from somewhere and leaving somewhere else. And on the day of judgment, inshallah, there will be no doubt about that. There will be no doubt about who is the real owner of everything and of all. And on that day, nobody will argue with God and say, this is mine, or this is yours, or no, it's not yours, or whatever. And this can be not only property, but even abstract things. Because on that day, the truth that we hide from here in this world will be clear unto all. We told in ayah in the Quran, يوم هم بارزون لا يخفى على الله منهم شيء لمن الملك اليوم لله الواحد القهار. The day when they shall come forth, it means on the day of judgment, with nothing of themselves hidden from God. With whom will sovereignty rest on that day? With God alone, the one who holds absolute sway over all that exists. And actually, if you look at all the name Qahar, which for a long time I used to think that it's like, oh, a name that's scary. But I realized that it's always Al-Wahid Al-Qahhar. He's the only one who is Qahhar. He's the only one who has absolute sovereignty and control over everything. And it gives a relief to the heart, because there is no other, it's scary when it's used for a human being, because you can't trust them. But when it's God, when it's the most compassionate, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the most merciful, the most generous, the most powerful, then all is fine. And alhamdulillah, there is only one Qahhar. Alhamdulillah. And on that day, it will become clear. But do we have to wait for that day? Of course not. And that's why we are told all these things in the Quran, because it is possible to confirm all these ayats, all these messages here and now, today, inshallah. And next, now ends the story of Maryam and Isa alayhim as-salam. And next we told about Ibrahim alayhi salam. But interestingly, I was like, oh, where are the miracles? Because we know that there are miracles related to Ibrahim alayhi salam, like the fire miracle, or the announcement of the birth of a son to his old barren wife. Like, oh, why aren't we told that? Because and of course this made me stop, and I realized that, okay, this means it's the sign that the purpose here of talking about Ibrahim alayhi salam is different. Like, we were prepared to get rid of shirk and false beliefs. We were taught how everything is a miracle. We were taught that everything is the result of deities, miracles included. And now it's about worshiping God alone and nothing beside him. And so we start with Ibrahim alayhi salam, the father of Tawheed. So that was like an introduction, getting us ready to listen, to become like students to Ibrahim alayhi salam. And he's described as Siddiq, truthful, very truthful. So it means what we'll need now is Sidq, truthful to ourselves, truthful to our reality, being authentic, having integrity. That's truthfulness. And so we're told, واذكر في الكتاب إبراهيم إنه كان صديقا نبيا إذ قال لأبيه يا أبتي لما تعبد ما لا يسمع ولا يبصر ولا يغني عنك شيئا يا أبت إني قد جاءني من العلم ما لم يأتك فاتبعني أهدك صراطا سويا. And mentioned in the book, Ibrahim, no doubt he'd been ever a truthful prophet. When he spoke unto his father, O my father, why do you worship something that neither hears nor sees, and can be of no avail whatever to you? O my father, behold, there has indeed come to me knowledge such as has never yet come unto you. Follow me then, I shall guide you unto a perfect way. And you can see that this is a very unusual situation, because we have a son advising his father and guiding him. He's saying to his father, I have a knowledge that never came to you. And this is why we find it unusual, because we take it for granted that knowledge is coming from father to son, from generation to another, as though it is an accumulation. And the assumption under that is that people make up knowledge, like they gain knowledge, they achieve it themselves, and we inherit it from each other. And it could be true for some things, but the true knowledge, the true wisdom, the knowledge of God, the knowledge of Akhirah, the knowledge of what matters, the knowledge of the purpose of everything, that is a gift from God directly to the person. Even when we get the message, the guidance from the Quran, for instance, from the prophets, it only becomes knowledge to the person to the extent that the person surrenders and is open to receive it. Just because I put the Quran, I carry it with me, or I know it by heart, it doesn't mean that it is revealed unto me. In order to be revealed unto me, I have to do the work. I have to surrender. I have to surrender and be truthful, like Ibrahim alayhi salam, like Zakaria alayhi salam. And to that extent, the message will unfold into my life and become knowledge and wisdom, and become part of my reality. And so here it becomes like the sun is, that's why it seems unusual, but actually why not, since it is given by God directly. And again, we see that wisdom is not a function of time or accumulation. Remember Yahya alayhi salam, John, the son of Zechariah, who was wise, we were told, as a small boy. So we take it for granted, like this is a child and I am an adult. Like I may have more experience, I may have more what we may call practical wisdom, because I've seen more, I tested things more, but the true wisdom that makes everything else useful and meaningful, that wisdom is given to the individual directly by God. And inshallah, I'll stop here, because I thought, okay, so now we're starting a new phase with Ibrahim alayhi salam and his interaction with his son. And now we're told explicitly, no shirk. You cannot worship something that neither hears nor sees nor can help you in any way. Worship God alone. So all what we learned so far is being told explicitly here through the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So I'll stop here, inshallah, and we'll carry on next week. Let me end with some dua. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا ورزقا طيبا وعملا متقبلا اللهم اغفر لنا واهدنا وارزقنا وعافنا أعوذ بالله من ضيق المقام يوم القيامة اللهم اجعلنا عند النعماء من الشاكرين وعند البلاء من الصابرين ولك في جميع أمورنا ذاكرين آمين آمين يا أرحم الراحمين. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Yamina, and thank you for the beautiful dua that really made reference to life after death, and may Allah, Ameen, may Allah grant us a beautiful ending, inshallah. Is there anybody who wants to bring up a question or a comment? Okay, so in that case, if there are no comments or questions, we will end the session today. And we have at least one thing to reflect on. As Sister Yamina said, that she invited us to reflect on Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We come from Him and we return to Him. And how does that in our hearts settle?
I think it was a different ayah, right? It was an ayah from Surat Maryam. Let me tell you which one it is. إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَرِثُ الْأَرْضَ وَمَنْ عَلَيْهَا وَإِلَيْنَا يُرْجَعُونَ. Ayah 40.
Okay, so inshallah, ayah 40. Which says, behold, God alone, we alone shall inherit the earth and all who are on it, and unto us all will be brought back.
It means everything ending is with God.
Yeah. So inshallah, let's stay with this ayah and other things, inshallah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum. I have a question. Sister Yamina, you always encourage us to sit and reflect. And if you can just elaborate, what I am always striving to do is to make my relationship with my Rabb very personal, not general, very personal. And when you encourage us to sit with an ayat, don't think, just sit, feel it in your heart, and reflect. And it to me, it sounds like communicating with our Lord. And is there a better methodology, or is it just individual? Can you elaborate on that?
I mean, we do the reflection and thinking. What we're doing here is that part. So that's why you're welcome to ask questions, to say what comes to your mind, because we want to get rid of all the doubts and have that clarity and get as much clarity as we can about some meaning of this area. Later, like when I say pause and hold it into your heart, it means do not think, what does it mean, Narito, what is inherit? That work is done. We need that work first. But we understood that to inherit the earth here is metaphorical. It means that everything will end with him. Now, taking that one meaning of this area, pondering, meditating, contemplating its meaning. You don't have to be sitting. You can do it while walking, not driving. But you can be walking, you can be sitting. That's not what matters, because we have different people have different ways of focusing. What matters is that we are focused and we are not trying to understand the words, not the time for it. We do, if you are not sure about what it means, then do that before. It's like when we are in the prayer, it's not the time to trying to understand what we are saying. We do it before. All the rest of the day, we have to understand that. So staying with the meaning means just listening. What the Quran says, sami'na, that sama', that listening has in the Islamic tradition is very important. Listening, what is this ayah telling, what is bringing into my heart? And I don't try to I am passive in the sense that I am open to receiving. I am praying to receive. I am sure that this ayah is pointing to some beautiful meanings, and it's my prayer to receive the meaning. Sometimes we don't receive the meaning, not because we don't understand the words, but because we are not ready to bear the message. We don't want to be reminded that everything is transient, and everything is going back to its source, and it scares us. And if I hold that fear in my heart, I won't be able to stay with the message. But here I surrender. I know that this is rahmah. I know that this is compassion, that this is a message that will bring ease and healing to my heart. And with that trust, with that tawakkul, things will come. It doesn't have to be something scholarly, probably not. You will start feeling a link to this area. This area will be very dear to you. Whenever you are in a state you forget or you feel anxiety or something, you will remember it, and you will remember the message that it brings. It becomes like, I don't want to use the word, but it's almost like an angel speaking to you.
Thank you.
In that sense.
SubhanAllah.
SubhanAllah. Alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum. I have a question also. I think we have to little bit ponder about this ayat you were mentioning, Sister Yamina, because another ayat came to my mind from the Quran. Allah says, "Kullu shay'in halikun illa wajhahu." So things are gonna go to if we don't think, if we cannot connect every creation with our owner, it's gonna go to halikun, like it's gonna come to an end, as far as I know. So so these two ayats, maybe they refer to different things, but I think they should be parallel to each other. They shouldn't be opposite to each other. So I don't know. I couldn't understand the ayah you were mentioning tonight. Maybe I should, this could be my homework this week.
First, I didn't really get the question. Let me say that, but I'll share one thing with you, is that something that we said at the beginning of the surah, and we repeat again and again, that everything being an ayah means they have different aspects. There is an aspect that looks to us, the aspect that this is a flower, this is a being, this is and there is an aspect that looks to God, that looks to Wajhullah, to the face of God, that looks to the Creator, that looks to the beautiful names. And of course, they cannot be separated. But when it says "Kullu shay'in haliku illa wajhah," everything is perishes, except everything perishes except the face of God, illa wajhah, except His face. It means except the face that looks to God. So what does it mean? Like, things do go, things do die, do end, but the face that looks to God, the face that looks to the beautiful names, at least as far as we're concerned, if we witness them, that meaning remains with us, and we witness it in other new creation. Every spring, for instance, we witness a new rebirth of the same meaning, and every summer and autumn, we see that everything is going, but we know that those names are lasting and permanent, even though everything ends. So it does not contradict this area which is saying that God alone, God is saying, we alone will inherit the earth. We alone will remain after the earth, and all who live on it, whether whatever is on it, will have passed away. So they actually corroborate each other. And the whole message of the Quran, in every single area, every single word, points to the same reality, but from different perspective, to make it easier for us to get that so huge, so encompassing truth and all the different names of God. So it is to help us that there are so many different ayats in the Quran and in the creation. But yes, they do all point to the same reality. But that reality, we need to know it from different perspectives. With all this, we still forget, and we still get away from the truth. Can you imagine? So we do need all these reminders. But yes, go ahead and inshallah make it your assignment, and maybe you will have something to share with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I mean, I understood the Kulli Şeyin Halikun one, but I couldn't understand Inna Lillahi ve Inna Ileyhi Raciun. Maybe I'm sure, you know, this week I should really study about it, because how are we sure we are going every moment back to him? You know, everything is transient. I understood that part, but I don't understand the, you know, I have to make it certainly understand what does it mean we are going back to him? How does it reaching to him, you know?
Then you need to first understand the first part of the equation, which is that everything from my Rabb. How can I be sure that everything is coming back if I don't know where it is coming from? So forget about where it is going. I would recommend that you focus on where is everything coming from. And of course, where is it coming from? It's not like where is which country, not in that sense. Like right now, life is coming, breathing is coming into me. Who? I am clearly not doing it. I can't. I have no idea how to do it. Who is taking care of me? Who is sustaining my life? Who is sustaining everything? Who? Ask this question. And that's how we first get to know who our Rabb is. Once we know who he is, things start getting easier and easier, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us tonight, and for sharing and commenting. And Jazakallah khair, Sister Yamina, for leading us tonight. So inshallah, we will meet next week. And may Allah bless your week, and may it be a time of reflecting and opening up and receiving divine healing and guidance, inshallah.
And when you pray for everyone, inshallah. We all need it so much, inshallah.
Yes, inshallah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jazakallah khair.